Hey people, welcome back to Anytime History, and today is my second video with my top 7 series. So today we'll be covering the 7 greatest empire in human history. So here we go. So and at number 7 we have the Spanish Empire, covering a 9.2 million square kilometer in area. The Spanish Empire ruled from 1492 to 1975, and it reached its military, political and economic height under the Spanish Habsburgs in the 16th and 17th century, whereas it reached its territorial might under the House of Bourbon in the 18th century, when it was the largest empire in the world and was the first empire for which the phrase "the sun where the sun never set" was used. Following the Spanish-American War of Independence, there was only Cuba, Puerto Rico, Philippines, and various territories in the African continent left under its rule. It lost its American territories in the Spanish-American War of 1898, and the decolonization of Africa finished in 1976. At number 6 we have Umayyad Arab Caliphate, covering 11.1 million square kilometers in area. The Umayyad Arab Caliphate, established between 661 to 750 CE, was the second of the four major caliphates established after the death of Muhammad. The caliphate was centered around the Umayyad dynasty. The empire had around 29% of world population under its rule. The Umayyad Caliphate was weakened by the Third Muslim Civil War and finally toppled by the Abbasid Revolution. And at number 5 we have the French Colonial Empire. It covered 11.5 million square kilometers in area. The French Colonial Empire constructed the overseas colonies, protectorates, and mandate territories under its rule from 1534 to 1980. A distinction is generally made between the first colonial empire that existed until 1814, by which time most of it had been lost, and the second colonial empire, which began with the conquest of Algiers in 1830. The second colonial empire came to an end after its defeat in Vietnam in 1955 and Algeria in 1962, and a peaceful decolonization after 1960. In at number 4 we have the Qing Empire. It covered 14 million square kilometers in area. The Qing Dynasty, officially the Great Qing, also called Qing Emperor of the Mongol Dynasty, was the last imperial dynasty of China, ruling from 1644 to 1912, formed by the Harishtian Asian Garo clan in Manchuria in the late 16th century. European empire started to influence the expansion in Asia, and a large part of Qing territories were chopped away, while at the same time the empire started to crumble from within as an anti-foreign movement began that protested against the European and Qing rule, ending the nation's long history of imperialism, and was followed by the Republic of China. At number 3 we have the Russian Empire, covering 22.8 million square kilometers in area, existing between the 1721 to 1917, was one of the largest empire in the world, spanning over 3 continents. The rise of Russian Empire happened in decline of neighboring power, the Swedish Empire, the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth, Persia, and the Ottoman Empire, ruled by the House of Romanov till 1762 and the House of Holstein-Gottorp-Romanov thereafter. The Russian Empire collapsed during the February Revolution in 1917 due to its failure in participation during the First World War. And at number 2 we have the Mongol Empire, covering 24 million square kilometers in area. The Mongol Empire existed between 1206 to 1294, holding 16.11% of total land area. At its peak, the Mongol Empire was the largest continuous land empire in history. Originating in Central Asia, the empire stretched from Central Europe in the west to Sea of Japan in the east, and from Serbia to the north to the Indian subcontinent to the south. The Mongol Empire emerged from the unification of nomadic tribes in Mongol homeland under the leadership of Genghis Khan. The Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260 marked the highest point of the Mongol Empire and was the first time the Mongols were beaten back in direct combat. In 1294, on the death of Kublai, the empire split into four different kingdoms. At number 1, we have the British Empire covering 35.5 million square kilometers in area. The British Empire comprised of dominions, colonies, protectorates, mandates, and other territories ruled or administered by the United Kingdom. It originated with the overseas possession and the trading post established by the British between the 16th and 18th century. At its peak in 1922, the empire hosted to 23% of world's population and 24% of total land area of the earth, and thus the phrase "the empire where the sun never sets" is often used to describe the British Empire. The empire in its peak had dominance over Canada, India, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, Western Samoa, Burma, Papua New Guinea, parts of the African continent, the United States, and the modern-day China. And with that, we come to the end of the video. They are the 7 largest empire in history. If you like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. And see you next time. Till then, have a nice day.